Okay, imagine this, a lavish crystal chandelier, probably worth more than your car is plummeting. It's already in motion, a glittering, deadly missile. In that impossibly slim half-second, just before it's about to turn a certain billionaire's very expensive skull into dust, everything just stops, dead silent. It's not just the sound either. You see cups, mid-spill, frozen in gravity-defying defiance. A child's scream caught mid-note hangs in the air like a ghostly echo. The very atmosphere feels switched off, doesn't it? But here's the kicker through this suspended reality. A waitress, apron smudged with telltale coffee stains, looking utterly unbothered, steps calmly across the opulent room. She efficiently, almost casually drags the unsuspecting man a mere 3 feet to his left, then slips back behind the bar as if she's just refilled a water glass. And then, snap. Time restarts. The chandelier, with a thunderous crash, detonates precisely where our billionaire had been just a heartbeat ago, sipping his artisanal espresso. The room erupts. Gasps ripple through the crowd, phones are instantly whipped out, and pure, unadulterated chaos takes over. He, the billionaire, stares wide-eyed at the wreckage, his pulse undoubtedly doing a frantic drum solo. Yet he never once glances at the quiet girl who just saved his life. Again. What if I told you this wasn't a fluke? What if this was her daily grind? Get ready, because we're diving into a story where an ordinary girl holds an impossible secret, and a billionaire's life hangs by a thread she alone can mend. Would you risk everything every single day for someone who doesn't even know you exist? Meet Amelia Rojas. She punches in at 5:45 every single morning sharp at the Skyline Grill. It's on the 42nd floor, a breathtaking view overlooking Central Park, but Amelia rarely notices the scenery. She's 26, barely making rent on a walk-up apartment with plaster that's seen better decades, and she holds the most unbelievable secret: she can stop time. Not for long, mind you. Exactly 43 seconds, then the headaches hit hard. She stumbled upon this gift curse when she was just 9. A runaway truck, a blur of metal and terror, was about to flatten her beloved scruffy terrier. The world just paused. She moved the pup, the world moved on, and Amelia's life was never quite the same. No mentor, no ancient scroll, no secret society came calling. Just a scared little girl with a built-in timer in her brain. She never told a soul, not even her mom, because history and glossy magazine covers taught her a harsh lesson. People who are different either end up celebrated as a spectacle or, well, on a dissection table. It's a lonely power, isn't it? Living with a secret that could literally change everything, but choosing to keep it hidden just to stay safe. Every day is a tightrope walk between normalcy and cosmic intervention. Then about 3 weeks ago, a new fixture appeared, a quiet billionaire named Kevin Finch. He started lunching at the Skyline Grill daily exactly at 1:00 p.m. Always alone, always ordered the wild-caught salmon, absolutely no dill. And every single day, like clockwork, at 1:14 p.m., a lethal accident would barrel straight for him. It was never the same thing. One day, a faulty gas line ready to blow. The next, a distracted bike courier way off course heading straight for the panoramic window near his table. Or a rogue drone, its rotors whirring a silent death sentence. Each time, Amelia, with a calm she didn't always feel, yanked the emergency brake on reality, rescued him, and then reset everything. Why bother? Why put herself through this daily torment for a man who didn't even know her name? Because Amelia reads the news. She'd seen the headlines that never printed tech mogul Kevin Finch killed at lunch, followed by a stock market nosedive, thousands of layoffs, and her kid brother's beloved after-school program, funded by Finch's foundation, shuddered. One death, one single ripple, could create a tsunami of suffering. And Amelia. She could stop the ripple. She had to. It wasn't about him, specifically, not really. It was about what his existence meant to so many others. A silent, terrifying responsibility. 43 seconds. It sounds like a decent chunk of time, doesn't it? But it feels infinitely shorter when you're dragging an unconscious busboy away from a flaming fryer or diverting a speeding coffee cart from a collision course. The physical toll? Oh, it was mounting. The nosebleeds started around save number 8, a crimson warning sign. By save 15, she was wide awake at 3 a.m., frantically Googling brain aneurysm symptoms on her cracked phone. Her manager, oblivious to her cosmic heroics, would scold her for spacing out, for staring intently at the corner booth instead of refilling water glasses. Customers, impatient and self-absorbed, would ding her tips because she seemed distracted or distant. They had no idea the actual cost of her distraction. Only Amelia truly understood the grim math. If she missed one day, just one, the man who funded groundbreaking cancer vaccines, the man whose innovations kept countless people employed, would simply cease to exist. Her secret heroism was invisible, thankless, and slowly, surely breaking her. The weight of the world, or at least a significant chunk of it, rested squarely on her tired, aching shoulders. But you know, even a billionaire, however self-involved, isn't entirely oblivious. Kevin Finch, after a few weeks, began to notice things. Not the big dramatic saves, of course, but the subtle aftershocks. First, it was just a nagging sense of déjà vu, a feeling he'd lived this exact moment before but couldn't quite place it. Then, stranger still, the way reflections in the polished surfaces of the restaurant seemed to lag for a split second, almost like the world was buffering. One afternoon, during a particularly close call, she averted. He actually gripped the edge of his table, his knuckles white as the entire room seemed to blur around him. For him, the freeze lasted only a heartbeat, a fraction of a second. But it left him with a profound, unsettling sense that something was fundamentally wrong, like skipping a stair in the dark. It was a disorienting, almost sickening sensation. He'd ordered his security team to sweep the entire restaurant top to bottom, but they found absolutely nothing. No threats, no anomalies. So he started requesting Table 7, her section, every single day. He began to subtly, almost imperceptibly study the quiet waitress with the tired eyes, the one who always seemed to be standing eerily close by just when catastrophe almost struck. Almost day 23. This day brought a new horrifying escalation. Not one attack, but two. At precisely 1:14 p.m., a trolley laden with razor-sharp steak knives, somehow unmoored, rocketed toward his throat. Amelia, moving on pure adrenaline and muscle memory, stopped. Time shoved the deadly cart aside, but she was already past her limit. At 1:43 p.m., while she was still reeling dizzy from the effort, a massive panoramic window, usually bolted solid, began to loosen in its frame, ready to guillotine him with thousands of pounds of glass. She couldn't hit pause again. Her brain felt like split concrete screaming in protest. The familiar migraine was already a jackhammer behind her eyes. Instinct, raw and primal, took over. There was no time for finesse, no time for invisible heroics. She tackled him, full force. The glass rained down, a glittering, deadly shower slicing a deep gash into her arm. Screams erupted, sirens wailed in the distance. Blood, bright and stark, bloomed on the crisp, white linen tablecloth. For the very first time, the billionaire looked straight at her, not past her, not through her. He saw her, and in his eyes there wasn't just shock, but a dawning, terrifying comprehension. That night, Kevin Finch's private security team went to work. They scoured every frame of the restaurant's extensive CCTV footage, minute by painstaking minute. What they found was impossible, yet the data was irrefutable. Every single time an accident nearly occurred, the footage, when slowed down to an agonizing crawl, showed Amelia subtly, almost imperceptibly, shifting objects, pushing people, diverting danger milliseconds before impact. It defied physics, defied logic. He remembered childhood physics lectures, a forgotten tidbit from a brilliant but eccentric professor. Time, it was theorized, could be elastic, but only if you paid an immense energy cost. Someone was paying it. For him. A cold, heavy guilt began to gnaw at him. People were dying for him, or rather, almost dying every single day, and he had been utterly oblivious. He had been a target, yes, but she had been the shield, and he hadn't even known. He immediately instructed his head of security, find the waitress. Invite her upstairs to the penthouse. No guards, no heavy-handed interrogation, just answers. He knew deep down he needed to hear her story. She refused at first, of course. Amelia was terrified of scalpels, of spotlights, of being exposed. But then a handwritten note appeared under her coffee cup, tucked next to a surprisingly generous $7.14 tip. It read simply, "I need to thank the person who keeps rewriting my obituary. The sheer humility, the unexpected personal touch from a man who could buy and sell cities disarmed her." Later that night, in the soft, pulsing glow of the city billboards visible from his penthouse, she told him everything. No proof, no scientific explanation, just her raw, exhausted word. He listened, and he believed, because the numbers added up, because the CCTV footage, now seen through the lens of her confession, made chilling, impossible sense, and because her hands even now shook uncontrollably from sheer exhaustion. He offered resources, the best doctors, the most advanced research, anything she needed. She looked at him, her tired eyes holding a depth of resilience he'd never seen before, and asked for only one thing, that he keep living. The rest, she insisted, was still on her. An unspoken, profound alliance formed in that neon-lit room. With Kevin's resources now at their disposal, they began to trace the incidents. Each device, every near miss, bore a microscopic, almost invisible gear, etched with a distinct symbol, a phoenix. The logo of a disgraced engineer named Victor Vale. Once, Vale had been Kevin's brilliant if unstable mentor, a visionary ousted from Finch Industries for pursuing dangerous, ethically dubious AI prototypes. Victor had vowed revenge, a bitter, simmering hatred that had festered in the shadows. He'd set up his operations in an abandoned warehouse across the river, a forgotten industrial husk. Every day at precisely 1:14 p.m., his drone swarm or his remote-controlled devices would launch another creatively engineered assassination attempt, meticulously timed to the billionaire's habitual lunch. But every day, Amelia's silent freezes intercepted them. Victor, unaware of the waitress with impossible powers, simply believed fate was being unusually, frustratingly unlucky. He thought Kevin was simply the luckiest man alive, narrowly escaping death time and time again. He didn't realize there was a guardian angel working overtime in a coffee-stained apron. They hatched a plan, daring and dangerous. Tomorrow, Amelia would not stop time. Instead, Kevin would secretly move locations while she, armed with a new kind of courage, would infiltrate Victor's warehouse. At 1:13 p.m., with her heart hammering a frantic rhythm against her ribs, she sprinted 3 blocks, slipping past derelict fences and rusted gates. She found Victor at a control wall, a mad symphony of screens displaying various schematics, and a live feed of the Skyline Grill. He, unaware of her presence, smirked and triggered his kill shot, a high-velocity telescopic railgun round aimed directly at the restaurant's corner booth. She had seconds, maybe less. This was it. Her last freeze of the day, possibly her last freeze ever. She hit it. The world fractured into stillness. Frozen bullets hung in the air, deadly suspended sculptures. She dodged them, a blur of motion, in a static world, her brain screaming with the effort. She yanked the targeting server's cables, ripping them free with a desperate strength she didn't know she possessed. 43 seconds expired, each one a lifetime of pain. Time snapped back. The railgun round, now untargeted, veered wildly, embedding harmlessly in a dumpster across the street with a resounding clang. Victor, his face a mask of disbelief and rage, fled. Sirens this time, real, wailed closer. Cops were closing in. The effort, that final desperate freeze, detonated a migraine so intense it dropped her to her knees, lights exploding behind her eyes. She woke up later in a private hospital room, soft sheets and hushed tones replacing the chaos. Kevin Finch was there, holding a stack of magazines that now branded him the luckiest man alive. He'd finally gone public, not about Amelia, but about his near-death experiences, pledging half his immense fortune to trauma centers, starting, of course, with her medical bill. Reporters hounded him for the hero's name, the person who had saved him repeatedly. He simply smiled, a genuine, grateful smile, and said only an employee who prefers privacy. The bounty on Victor Vale climbed astronomically, and the attacks finally mercifully stopped. Amelia's power lay quiet within her, maybe broken, maybe just resting a weary sentinel. She wasn't sure if she could ever access it again, and frankly, she wasn't sure she wanted to. So what about you? Would you risk your life again and again for someone who doesn't even know you exist? Tell me what you'd do with 43 frozen seconds. The possibilities are endless, aren't they? Drop a like. If you believe in these quiet, unsung heroes who move mountains without anyone noticing, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that bend reality and make you wonder what secrets the person next to you might be hiding.